you all to think about your families, all the good times and memories that you've had. Now imagine slowly forgetting those times or their faces or even their names. This is just one of the effects of Alzheimer's disease. Many people know of the disease but don't know what it actually is. Today I will be teaching you about Alzheimer's disease, what it is, what it can do, and how it can affect the person with it and their families. So first off, I'm going to tell you what Alzheimer's disease is. It's a type of dementia, and there's different forms of dementia, but all forms are caused by brain cell death. The brain size actually shrinks. This is a really severe case of Alzheimer's, but the brain size actually shrinks over time. Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia. According to Medical News Today's Marcus McGill, an estimated 5.3 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's disease. So almost every 67 seconds, someone in the U.S. develops Alzheimer's disease. That's just in the U.S. alone, not taking in perspective the whole entire world. The main risks of Alzheimer's disease are age. It starts at around 80, becomes the highest risk, and higher, and it's less common in 60s and younger. And the second biggest risk is family inheritance. So if someone in your family had Alzheimer's, there's a greater risk of you acquiring it over time. The symptoms and stages of Alzheimer's can be identified into categories. First, to be diagnosed, the doctor must diagnose you with dementia. So you can't have Alzheimer's until you've been diagnosed with dementia. But the 5 main symptom areas I've written on the board. The first is worse ability to take in and remember new information. So that'd be like having a conversation with this person and they keep repeating the same questions, or getting lost on the way home when they've been doing it their entire life. Reasoning, complex tasking, and exercising judgment impairments. This would be like having a hard time managing their money or bad decision making. Impaired abilities, mostly with your visual abilities. This is only if you didn't have it before, so if you had bad eyesight your entire life, doesn't mean that you're going to get Alzheimer's. This would also be with not recognizing faces or not being able to find something when it's sitting right in front of you. Problems with speaking, reading, and writing. So if you're having a conversation with someone and they can't think of common everyday words, or spelling and writing errors. And the 5th one is personality and behavior changes. This is a loss of empathy or mood changes, and with Alzheimer's it's mainly agitation. So there are also 3 stages of progression. Preclinical, mild cognitive impairment, and then it eventually goes through dementia. A patient can stay in the first 2 stages of progression, but a majority of those people go on to have dementia after some time. Alzheimer's also affects the family of the patient. There's lots of roles that they have. The first role would be caring for that patient. That could be finding a place for them to live if they need assistance, and also managing your own life while taking on another person's life that you didn't have to do earlier. According to the Alzheimer's Association, one should make a positive assumption, avoid stress, and talk to family members while dealing with a family member with Alzheimer's. The next is emotional trouble. So Alzheimer's deals a lot with being forgotten by the family member, and they're there physically but not all the time mentally, and also coping with the loss of that person over time. For me, my great-grandpa got diagnosed with Alzheimer's several years ago. I think I was 12. And the hardest thing for me was he was not remembering who people were, so going to visit him was really hard for my family. But for myself, having an understanding of what Alzheimer's was helped me with the grieving process, and knowing that there's 5.3 million people that have family members going through the same thing, you're not alone in what you're trying to understand yourself. So hopefully you all have a better understanding of Alzheimer's disease. Since it develops over time, it can be painful to watch. With the right approaches and help, together they can work to make their family member as comfortable as possible. One day, hopefully, a cure will be found, but until then, the best thing we can do is be educated about the Alzheimer's disease.